Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're tackling something I know pretty much every single language learner has dealt with at some point. I mean, raise your hand if you've ever spent literally years studying English grammar, memorizing endless vocabulary lists, acing all your tests, only to completely freeze up when it's actually time to open your mouth and speak. If you've been there, you are definitely not alone. It is incredibly frustrating. But today, we're going to change that. We are building your personal speaker's toolkit to get you out of passive study and into active, confident fluency. Now, I want you to remember this one single, powerful truth. Fluency lives in your mouth, not your eyes. Really think about it. Speaking a language is a lot like riding a bicycle. You can't learn how to ride a bike just by reading the instruction manual, right? You literally have to get on the bike, wobble around a bit, and make mistakes. Reading textbooks and watching videos, sure, they're valuable, but actually speaking requires muscle memory. Making a mistake isn't failing. It's honestly just how you learn to balance. So, the absolute crucial point here is understanding the big difference between passive learning and active recall. Most English learners are actually studying correctly, but they're practicing incorrectly. They rely entirely on passive learning, reading textbooks silently or just memorizing vocabulary. But active recall, that's when the vocabulary you've seen on a page becomes the vocabulary you can pull out of your brain under pressure in a real-time conversation. Active recall is literally the only way your passive language knowledge transforms into spoken muscle memory. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our structured toolkit for today. We're going to cover, first, the passive learning trap. Second, a super effective 15-minute daily routine. Third, utilizing an AI conversation partner. Fourth, real-world roleplay. And finally, crafting your perfect self-introduction. Let's get into it. Section 1. The passive learning trap. Shifting the mindset. To actually escape this trap, we have to stop that exhausting habit of translating sentences from your native language in your head before you speak. It is so slow, it makes you hesitate, and it absolutely kills your confidence. Instead, you need to adopt this new mantra: speak confidently, not perfectly. Seriously, take all that pressure off yourself right now. If you're constantly aiming for flawless grammar, you're just going to stay silent. The immediate goal is to completely let go of that perfectionism and just aim for daily micro wins. Force your brain to start thinking directly in English just by opening your mouth and trying to improve a little bit every single day. All right, Section 2, the 15-minute daily routine. Small habits, big impact. You might think you need hours of classroom study or expensive tutors to get better, but you really just need consistency. So here is an exact 15-minute step-by-step routine that can dramatically improve your English. First, minutes 1 to 3, you warm up. Just talk to yourself out loud. State how you feel or what your plans are. Something simple like, I am making breakfast. Then, minutes 4 to 7, listen to a native speaker on a short video and just repeat their phrases, really trying to copy their rhythm. Minutes 8 to 10, pick a few new vocabulary words and create your own sentences, again, out loud. And finally, minutes 11 to 13, practice spontaneous speaking by answering simple questions aloud, like, what did you do yesterday? Wrap the whole thing up in the last 2 minutes by just reflecting on what you practiced. It's really that simple. Now, to make this routine actually stick, you need consistency. Set a timer and practice at the exact same time every day. But here's honestly my favorite tip. Adopt an English persona. One learner mentioned she has her Spanish voice and her American voice. Taking on a slightly different persona can make speaking aloud feel way less scary. It takes all the pressure off of you and allows you to repeat those short phrases until they feel entirely natural. Moving on to Section 3, the AI conversation partner. Zero pressure practice. If you are terrified of being judged by a native speaker, tools like ChatGPT's voice mode are honestly the ultimate zero-pressure conversation partners. I mean, it doesn't judge you, it has infinite patience, and it's available 24/7. Here's how you can structure your prompts sequentially over 30 days to really level up. For the first week, just ask it to ask me simple questions one at a time. That builds your basic fluency. In week 2, you level up by saying, identify my grammar mistakes and rewrite my answers, which improves your accuracy while you're speaking. Finally, by week 4, really challenge yourself. Tell the AI, allow me to speak for 1 minute, then ask follow-up questions. That is going to build your stamina and reduce those awkward mid-sentence pauses. But if you decide to take this 30-day AI challenge, there are 3 absolute rules you must follow. Number 1, do not stay silent. You literally cannot improve your speaking without speaking aloud. 2. Do not fear mistakes. Remember, you're talking to a robot. It doesn't care. And 3. Do not skip days. Consistency is the magic ingredient here. Just showing up for 15 minutes a day is what's going to create that massive, noticeable improvement over time. Section 4. Real-world role play. Activating your vocabulary. Okay, so once you've built up a little bit of confidence, it is time for real-world scenarios. Reading textbook dialogues silently in your room is not going to make you fluent. Engaging in a dynamic role play forces your brain to train in 3 absolutely vital areas: activation under pressure, understanding conversation sequencing, and practicing mid-sentence repair. Whether you're simulating grabbing a coffee with a coworker or trying to navigate a totally unfamiliar conversation, these are those high-stakes moments. But if you practice these scenarios in low-stakes settings, like with your AI tutor, by the time you step into the real world, your brain already knows the sequence. The vocabulary will just start showing up automatically. And speaking of mid-sentence repair, I really want to normalize a very important phrase for a second. Sorry, could you say that one more time? Listen, making a mistake or simply not catching what someone said is completely normal. It is not a failure. Native speakers ask each other for repetition constantly without even realizing it. Mastering fluency means getting comfortable with repairing the conversation midstream without letting that panic set in. Section 5. Your perfect self-introduction. Mastering the basics. Almost every single new interaction starts the exact same way, right? Authentic connections start with simple introductions. But a huge trap that learners fall into is preparing this long, 60-second memorized monologue all about themselves. That just loses the listener. Native speakers actually tend to give just 2 or 3 simple sentences and then throw a question back at you. Your introduction should move really smoothly from basic facts to a personal connection. So here is a stress-free, totally reliable structure that helps you avoid all those common mistakes. Start with a quick greeting and your name, followed by your location and background. Then state your job or daily role. Add the purpose of why you're there, sprinkle in a really brief personal detail or hobby, and, most importantly, always end with a closing question. This simple framework sets the foundation for literally every conversation that follows. It flows naturally, and it keeps you from nervously mixing up verb tenses or just overloading someone with your entire life story. When it comes to introductions, less is definitely more. The ultimate goal of an introduction is simply to establish a bit of rapport and invite a back-and-forth connection. So please, don't stress about perfectly stating your life's purpose right away. Honestly, saying something as simple as, "I'm fine, thank you, how about you?" naturally builds that rapport. Keep it concise, take a deep breath, and just let the conversation develop on its own. Finally, your day 1 homework. Start pedaling today. We have covered the toolkit, but as we said at the very beginning, you cannot learn to ride the bicycle just by listening to this explainer. It is time to put this into action right now. So, I have a challenge for you. Speak in English for just 5 minutes today using that introduction framework we just went over. Record your voice on your phone and completely ignore your mistakes. Just keep the momentum going. And let me leave you with this provocative question to think about. What will your English sound like in 30 days? If you stay consistent, if you actually embrace making mistakes, and if you commit to just 15 minutes a day, you are going to be so completely surprised by your own progress. Remember, every fluent expert was once exactly where you are right now. The only difference? They simply never stopped practicing. Keep that vision in your mind, get out there, and start speaking. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.